And we're back from that super serious ad into 2003, which is one of the largest sweeps in Oscar history. But to set the stage, in theaters, you're seeing epics like Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, Last Samurai, a movie that probably would have done a lot better if it was released in any other year except 2003. The Matrix comes to a close with Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions being released only 6 months apart in the same year, which is wild. You're seeing also the extensions of other franchises: X2, Terminator 3, Bad Boys 2, and we're getting even more of an advent of the comic book movie as we get the original Hulk with Eric Bana, and we get Daredevil with Ben Affleck, which if those don't scream quality to you, I don't know what quality is, man.
Yeah.
Also, some Dylan favorites here, or favorites of your past: Freddy versus Jason, and
Oh yeah.
and School of Rock are both brought out in
Classic.
2003. So that's kind of the scene. Also, first Kill Bill is released in 2003, which is another one I was a little shocked by, like, no recognition, because Kill Bill is so widely regarded as such a quality movie by a lot of people. I've never really dove into
I
Kill
think
Bill
that's
that much.
mostly I think that's mostly Tarantino bros.
It's shocking how big that group is. It's like
Yeah.
Tarantino Bros, and you're like, really? Because when people say Kill Bill, I'm like, that's your favorite? Because when I watch Kill Bill, I'm like, it's okay, I get it. It's stylish, it's fun.
Yeah.
But I've every time I've watched clips of it, even when I want to sit down and watch the full thing, I'm kind of like, eh. You tell me it's Inglorious Bastards, Eightful Eight, Pulp Fiction. I'm like, I get that. Those are all
Hmm.
really good. Whereas Kill Bill, I'm kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
I have a couple for all of our categories, and then I actually do have a few noms, shout outs, or straight up win changes for our bigger ones as well.
Okay.
Uh,
Um.
Go ahead.
One sec though, because I teased this in private.
Yes, you did.
Um. Because I said there's a juicy detail in this year,
Yes, you did.
and I and
2003.
I
Take it
hinted.
there.
Yeah, I hinted that it has to do with Nazis. Um. So this first part doesn't. But this is the first Oscars that had the 5 second rule after the Janet Jackson Super Bowl halftime show. So
Ah,
thought that was a fun fact.
okay.
And then the Nazi thing is, uh, the Academy got a bunch of criticism for including Lenny Riefenstahl in the in memoriam section. Do you know who that is?
No.
She's a she's a um, German director, editor, producer who made Triumph of the Will.
You can't
So,
do that, man.
so she was Hitler's favorite filmmaker.
No
She
shit.
made. She was pretty much the major filmmaker for Nazi propaganda. Um, and the thing about it is, like, it's a baffling choice because I don't see who would have complained had you
Nobody.
just left it out.
The only people that would have complained is the subsection of the subsection of the trash of humanity. The trash
Yeah,
of humanity that have film taste. Like,
it
that's
is so weird.
what the fuck are you like? Here's the thing. When you first teased this to me in private, and I think you may have teased a little bit on the show last when we last talked about it. I thought we were gonna get some, like, behind the scenes, like, oh, it turns out this guy was campaigning actually had some real Nazi ties, or like, or there was this one
Mm-mm.
production piece that was like, oh wow, they had a whole neo-Nazi kind of thing. To honor the person
A literal Nazi.
who was a legit Nazi. Just quick history lesson in case people don't know. If you're watching this or listening to this, you probably know. But in case you just don't know. one of the most important ways that Hitler actually rose to power with popularity was he used pop culture of the time. Triumph of the Wills is a huge cinema piece that was created by the Nazis to glorify the Nazis and to show them as heroes. It is so abundantly clear that it is Nazi propaganda, right? It's made by Nazis for Nazis to create more Nazis. That is the whole fucking point.
It is the propaganda piece that, like, cemented the idea of the master race and the Untermesh.
Yes.
The unmentionable people.
Right.
Yeah.
To honor the person who very much has a hand in helping Adolf Hitler come to power. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And then I also teased this when I was talking to you. I'm reading the autobiography of Frank Capra.
Yep.
Right here. The Name Above Title. That's what it's called. And he just happened to be talking about Triumph of the Will when I was the day that I was researching this. So I'll read a quote that he said. He said, "The film was the most ominous prelude of Hitler's Holocaust of hate. Satan couldn't have devised a more blood-chilling super spectacle. It was at once the glorification of war, the deification of Hitler, and the canonization of his apostles. With all the pomp and mystical trappings of a Wagner opera, its message was blunt and brutal. We, the Germans, are the new invincible gods." And then he goes on to say, "Mass murder of innocents is beyond human understanding, but a viewing of Triumph of the Will should have predicted it." So even people at the times in the 30s and 40s perfectly understood that how big a propaganda piece it was. Because Frank Capra volunteered into the U.S. Army in World War II. And he was in the morale section
Oh,
of the U.S. Army.
Kind of like how Dr. Seuss was part of the Army, and
yes,
gotcha.
Yeah, really fascinating stuff.
That is a film legend. That
yeah. Oh, for anyone who doesn't know, Frank Capra directed Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, It's a Wonderful Life. Bunch of classics.
Bunch of the classics. Frank Capra is a huge influence on Steven Spielberg. Anytime Spielberg talks about the romanticization that he has in film, he always talks about Frank Capra. So it's one of those that he's just like, John Ford made John Ford pictures. Frank Capra made Frank Capra pictures. I wanted to make Steven Spielberg pictures. It's like, okay, those are his guys, so to speak. So it's very interesting to say. What a fucking dumbass way to start. God damn.
Yeah.
God damn.
That's a choice, that's for sure.
Also, here's the other thing. What a sticky-ass situation back-to-back years. You are dipping your toe in with The Pianist with a movie with, although he's a piece of shit, part of the sympathy is garnered because he's a Holocaust survivor in Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
And then the
movie is about a Holocaust survivor.
And the movie is about a Holocaust survivor. And then the next year, you honor the person with the most pop culture clout in gaining Nazi power. Yeah. What in the flying fuck are you doing?
So much unneeded attention.
Unnecessary. Whoever made that, if they weren't fired immediately... Like, you wish the story came down to, like, one intern who was, like, really misguided, just threw it in there. And, like, what? Triumph of the Wills, big movie. What?
Yeah.
And you just go, this kid needs to get fired, but it's not that simple.
Yeah. I mean, most people do watch it in film school. Yeah. It's taught in most film schools, but, like, it's not an enjoyable watch, let's put it that way.
No shit. Did you have to sit and watch it?
Yes, and it was awful.
Yeah. You just go, what the fuck are
Um,
you doing? Like, because I've seen bits and pieces of it in film classes too, and you're like, what the
yeah,
fuck?
yeah. Do you have any technical
I do.
category changes?
I do. Let's
Okay.
get back to some other stuff. Now I just want to make sure I have my nominees correct as I'm doing this as well. So, take me to art direction first.
Okay. Girl with the pearl earring, The Last Samurai, The Return of the King wins, Master and Commander, and Seabiscuit.
I believe a nom should at least be made for Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl.
Sure, yeah.
I highly.
I'd agree with that.
That is such an underrated film.
I agree. I
Curse of the
love that
Black Pearl
movie.
is a great movie, and there was a couple categories that Curse of the Black Pearl felt like if it's
Hey,
just a
Johnny Depp gets a nomination.
he deserves a nomination for that role.
I agree. I
and
agree.
and he's tremendous in that. But to not even get a nomination for art direction, I was kind of like, come on.
Yeah.
Also, it's got a period piece vibe to it as well. I was like, this has enough Oscar shit in it, and I'm like, come on.
I think it's because it's a Disney movie.
Yeah. So, all right, I would go art direction, Pirates of the Caribbean. Cinematography, one of the few categories that Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is not nominated in. Not only do I think it doesn't deserve it deserves a nomination, I believe it certainly deserves the win for cinematography.
That's
I
the one I had down. Yep.
I don't know how Return of the King does not get a cinematography nom at the very least, if not a win.
I just want to go on this point for a second. The Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring wins best cinematography, and then the Two Towers and Return of the King don't even get nominations for cinematography. That is like baffling beyond belief.
Because it's fucking stupid. Yeah.
It just makes no sense.
I don't know how you can see. I understand we got a lot of visual effects here. You know, there's not like 6,000 Riders of Rohan. No shit.
Sure.
But even the shots they have of the Riders of Rohan, like Pelennor Fields alone, should win cinematography. Not to mention all the cinematography, the great ominous angles they show in Mordor of Frodo climbing into the caves of the mountains with Gollum right before he tosses Sam aside. Minas Morgul, the way they shoot Minas Morgul, it's barely in the movie, and it's so ominous because of the way the cinematography is done.
Mm-hmm.
The beautiful shots that they have of the landscape of Edoras and the transitions from Edoras to the encampment. I don't know in what world they think that cinematography doesn't even deserve a nomination, but doesn't win.
Well, you hit on something there that will come up in future episodes of visual effects for cinematography.
Yeah.
But they 1 second. Emma's having a freak out.
Yep, I can tell.
Sorry. Okay. So the big problem I see with that art is they filmed all three Lord of the Rings movies at the same time.
Correct.
Right? And this is still in the early 2000s when you couldn't do all that much with computers. This is not the Hobbit trilogy where you can shoot 75% of your scenes in a blue screen, green screen environment and fill it in later. You have to shoot stuff practically as much as you can and then incorporate it, composite it in.
Yeah.
Like, there will be instances in the future where we're going to talk about cinematography where it's like, is that really cinematography? Kinda. So
It's just I don't get that at all. You see that shot of the Rohirrim as they're getting ready to go into Pelennor Fields, and I'm not talking about the big one where it's clearly CGI.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the one dead on where you see all the horses and you can see the breath and you can see everything. It's like, come on.
There's a lot of like beautiful shots in that movie.
That's one of the most emotional scenes I will watch in my entire life. Is when he's getting ready, when Theoden's getting them ready for the march into the Pelennor Fields. I cry almost every time I watch it. I get goosebumps every time. Because I'm just like, this is what you do for good. This is the whole point. And that's like movie magic at its finest. I'm tearing up right now just thinking about it. Where it's just, you so believe in that cause when you're watching that film. And part of it is the reason Bernard King motivating them, great performance. But also
True.
part of it is the way they're shooting it. And to shoot the fear, but also the hunger to do well. And they're not bloodthirsty. They're marching in to fight for what's right. And the way they're shooting it, I'm like, come the fuck on, man. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
And another one that I found interesting, just because of the weird camera angles that they use, the way they kind of shoot character in it, I could see a nomination for Kill Bill for cinematography because they do a lot of weird stuff with the camera to tell the story. That was also one where I was like, interesting not to see that one. Okay. But obviously that was the biggest travesty of justice that I've ever seen. To not get a cinematography Return of the King, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I would prefer Return of the King to win over Master and Commander, but I do understand why Master and Commander won, because that movie is gorgeous.
It is.
And it is like about as epic as you'll get in terms of like a naval seafaring movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other technical category I had written down was I actually had adapted screenplay for a nomination for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Does that count as an adapted screenplay? I think it's fine. I'm not arguing. Or would that count as original because it's not?
That's a weird
it's
thing.
It's not a book. It's not a play. It's a
a
theme
weird
park
thing
ride.
because yes, it's a weird thing because there's so many different variations of like based on a material on a different medium, and I don't know if it would fall into that or not. So I was like, I'm just gonna go with adapted because I honestly don't know what it would fall into.
Sure.
But like I said, I love that fucking movie.
It's a
I think
tremendous
that
movie.
movie got charm to spare.
Charm up the fucking wazoo.
Yeah.
Talk about it. We just talked about it with franchises in the year before. Talk about a movie that banked on its first movie and was diminishing returns ever since. And I like the continuation of that franchise. I love even the ones that everyone doesn't like. But still, it's clear that they're not as good as Curse of the Black Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, I have two more technical categories. How does Pirates of the Caribbean not get an original score nomination or win? Not win, but nomination.
I understand that one because when you go back and listen to Gladiator, they are very similar.
Okay. And then another one. No nod in makeup for X2 for Nightcrawler, and I think that's I don't think X2 X2 is a really good movie. I don't think it's like Oscar Best Picture quality, but I think it's certainly a good movie. But the makeup done for Nightcrawler alone, I'm like, I think that makeup category.
Yeah. So once again, they only had three.
Why?
It was only Lord of the Rings, Master and Commander, and Pirates. So no problems with the actual nominees.
No.
But it should be 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would go with that one. But I don't have any more technical categories.
All right.
It seems almost greedy to argue more Lord of the Rings, but I think they even have a real argument for some other stuff.
So Big 6, director Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings.
No qualms.
Actor Sean Penn, Mystic River.
Thoughts?
Actress Charlize Theron for Monster. Supporting actor Tim Robbins for Mystic River, and supporting actress Renee Zellweger for Cold Mountain.
Never seen Mystic River. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I know of
It's
Cold Mountain. Never watched it.
Mystic River is like
It's a
one
Clint
of those
Eastwood movie,
movies
right?
yeah, it's one of those movies that you watch purely for performances. Like I don't love the movie itself, but all the performances in it. Like Kevin Bacon's in it as well. Um, Marcia Gay Harden is also in that movie. All the performances in it are great, but the movie itself I don't love.
Okay.
Like it's like, whatever. I take it or leave it. But yeah, Sean Penn is amazing in that movie.
Okay. Um, at the very least for nominations, I think Viggo Mortensen or Elijah Wood have a real argument for at least being nominated in that category.
Yes, I wrote down Elijah Wood for a nomination.
Yeah.
And then I wrote down Viggo Mortensen a win for supporting actor.
I put Ian McKellen in that spot, but I could also
sure.
see Viggo because to me, Return of the King, it's such an ensemble piece. I think is the reason no one got a nomination for Best Actor because I put Viggo and Elijah down because it kind of feels like concurrent. It feels like that movie's far more Aragorn, but yet we have all that stuff of Frodo. So that's why I'm a little. I don't know what to do with it, but if you can get away with it as a supporting actor, it kind of like falls in that Tom Hanks that we just talked about. Certainly, Viggo Mortensen deserves at very least a nomination for that.
Yeah, I think you could slide him into supporting.
That's why I put Ian McKellen because he's still great and he does so many different things in that.
And then the other change I had was supporting actress. I would have put Christina Ricci in Monster over Renee Zellweger. Nothing against Renee Zellweger. She's good in that movie. Not great. Movie overall is fine. A lot of people think it's boring, really.
Okay.
It's like a Civil War era. I don't even know what to call it. Civil War era. I can't even call it an epic because it's not an epic. It's like it's about Nicole Kidman and Renee Zellweger just challenged to run a farm on their own, like
as their partners are away from at war.
Because Jude Law is at war. Yeah, it's
interesting.
It's fine. It's a fine movie.
Okay.
And then the other shout outs I had were Min Sik Choi in Old Boy, the Korean film.
Yep.
And then Sean Astin as supporting.
Yeah, I could really see Sean Astin supporting as well. I love Samwise Gamgee. Sam,
he's great in that movie.
Outside of Gandalf, if you actually made me boil it down, Sam might be my favorite character in all of Lord of the Rings, outside of like little bit pieces. And a lot of that has to do with how I portray Sam because of Sean Astin's performance. He's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And such a tremendous performance. Where you just like, it's really easy as a young kid to just be like, why are you so devoted to this guy? Why do you keep doing this? But you then realize as you grow older how important Sam is. And the way Sean Astin portrays Sam is just a devoted friend to the end who will never give up on you. It's like glorious. So good.
Yep.
So good.
So, actual nominees for Best Picture. The winner, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
As it should.
Lost in Translation, Master and Commander, Mystic River, and Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit was another one that kind of just pops up out of nowhere.
I just rewatched it 4 months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
A lot better than I remember it.
Okay. So it's just it's another one of these in the string of this year, these 5 years where you're just kind of like they're not getting a lot of noms for anything. All of a sudden it's like Seabiscuit, and you're like, what?
Yeah,
I don't know who I replace. I could see an argument for Finding Nemo being put in Best Picture.
that's my change. I took out Mystic River and put in Finding Nemo.
I think Finding Nemo is the movie that really gets a lot of modern audiences prepared for this isn't a cartoon.
Yeah,
This is a movie. And just because it has cartoons, it's an animated feature,
yeah,
doesn't mean it's a silly throwaway movie.
yeah. That's like the turning point for Pixar, where they're like, okay, we're here to stay.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, they have Toy
We're gonna
Story and
do-
Toy Story 2, and people are like, yeah,
Yeah.
those are great. We love Toy Story. Bugs Life, it gets shit on for no reason, because Bugs Life's also a very good movie. But
Yeah,
they're like, okay, fine. Finding Nemo comes out, and everyone goes, oh shit, they're real. Like, they can't
yeah,
be stopped. Pixar doesn't make bad movies.
exactly.
Like, is Cars 2 the worst Pixar movie?
Probably, yeah.
Like, and yeah, so it's like, come on. I would have put Finding Nemo in the Best Picture category. In total, Return of the King wins 13 awards this year.
11.
11. I'm sorry.
They are nominated for 11 and they win 11.
Was it the first to ever sweep all the categories as nominated? Because there were other ones that they got to 11, but they were nominated for more.
So, All About Eve, Titanic. I want to say there's one more.
Isn't Ben-Hur's in there?
Oh, Ben-Hur. They all got 14 nominations, but no one's ever won more than 11. And then Lord of the Rings were nominated for 11 and won 11. And, I mean, according to us, probably should have won more than 11.
I mean, according to us, they have a guaranteed win in cinematography, and they're not even nominated, so that's fucking horseshit.
Yeah.
So that's 12. Plus, you have 4 cases in the acting category that could at least give you a chance to get to 13 or 14. Now, with Mystic River, it sounds like it's so performance-based that probably not going to get those 2.
Yeah.
You
But
just
you
said
should at least get 12.
Sean Penn was brilliant, but would you replace Sean Penn with Elijah Wood?
I would. No, the one I would change is Tim Robbins as supporting actor.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would say. I mean, it's hard to say like they deserve to be the most recognized movie of all time.
It's hard not to, though.
They deserve the awards they got. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Return of the King is such a well-made film.
Yeah.
There is not an ounce of fat on that motherfucker. Everything is very important.
What's funny is
even the shit that hits the cutting room floor is great, where you're just like, God damn, this is good.
Yeah. Somehow I have a memory of being really upset about Pirates of the Caribbean not winning for visual effects that year. And I would have been 9 years old.
So you're already an Oscar connoisseur.
Like, no, I remember just like mom and dad watching it first, and I must have been in for that one category or something. And Pirates of the Caribbean would have been the one movie I recognized.
Right. No, I remember at the time, I got slightly upset that Pirates didn't win for Best Song. But then I go back and I hear Annie Lennox sing Into the West. And I'm just like, nah, it's not possible. I'm like, Into the West needs to win. So I'm like, nah, no change.
That's the one award that I would say maybe they don't deserve it, but also I would have to look at all the movies that came out that year, because a lot of times the Oscars don't nominate the best songs of the years.
Yeah. Well,
of the movies,
we've
so-
already had a few of those,
Yeah.
in our last episode. No Kiss from a Rose. Bullshit. Deserves a
Yeah.
nom. So, yeah, Return of the King's so fucking good. So good. You'll be shocked. It's my
Yeah.
favorite movie of 2003.
Mine as well.
With heavy consideration also to Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yep.
I know you love Love Actually. I am not a Love Actually fan, but I know you really
I
like
don't
it.
love it, but I enjoy it.
And also another movie that I'm always very happy to come across. I really like The Last Samurai. I think The Last Samurai is a great film.
It's a good movie, yeah.
And it's just wrong time to be an epic.
Yeah, I mean, it got a couple of nominations. Not many. I think the most important nomination got, pretty sure Ken Watanabe got a nom.
I think he did as well.
So, and he deserved it, so.
Yeah. Again, good fun to come back and check these out.
Yeah, next episode we get to talk about one of the most controversial wins of all.
One of or the?
One of.
Okay. Oh, I haven't watched that movie, so I've watched pieces of it and was not impressed. So
I've watched it twice. I will not be watching it a third.
fair enough. But we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about that in the next Oscars episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We're gonna have a little bit more October content for you. Get a little bit back into the spooky vibes pretty soon. But I hope y'all enjoyed this show. It's always fun talking about it. Check us out on our socials. Stay in touch there. Head over to the Etsy shop. Find yourself some cool merch. And more importantly than anything, keep up to date so you can watch even more great movies. Go watch a great movie to enjoy yourself. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Bye!